the sutta number 133, Kaccāna-Bhaddekaratta-Sutta. Can you try to read it? Kaccāna-Bhaddekaratta-Sutta. Again?
Kaccāna-Bhaddekaratta-Sutta.
Very good. So Kaccāna is a name of a monk. He was the foremost among those who could explain something in detail. When the Buddha preached something in brief, he was able to explain it in detail. Or if any monk came and said, I need the meaning of this, he would give a detailed account of whatever the thing they asked. So his name is Kaccāna because Buddha appointed or maybe praised some monks based on the qualities they had, expertise they had. So Kaccāna was the foremost, the top excellent monk among those who could explain things to others when it was presented to him in brief. Ratta means night. But here they translated it as attachment. Ratta also can mean rati. Rati can mean fonding, infatuation, lusting after and getting attached. So maybe that's why he translated it that way, but we will find out. Well, when you go into the introduction of the sutra, one who has one fortunate attachment is how it has been translated. But let me see if my edition. So in this edition, a single excellent night is how we changed the I think I gave you the old meaning, old edition. But let's go with the new edition. A single excellent night is so Ratta here means night, Bhadda means excellent, Eka Ratta means one night, a single excellent night. And this name, the set of, so there is a set of verses that became popular among monks, and they are known as the verses of a single excellent night. And the reason behind that is that these were preached in a single excellent night, and monks remembered those verses by that name. So slightly before that, before we come to this sutra, if you were reading the discourses in Majjhima Nikaya, the middle length discourses, you find about two more sutras before this. Bhaddekaratta-Sutta, a single excellent night. And then you find Ānanda-Bhaddekaratta-Sutta, Ānanda and single excellent night. And you find Kaccāna-Bhaddekaratta-Sutta, Kaccāna and single excellent night. And Loma-Sakkhaṅgya-Bhaddekaratta-Sutta, the person named Loma-Sakkhaṅgya and a single excellent night. So this is these are four sutras go by single excellent night. So this is our single excellent night. Just after the full moon day of this month. Yesterday I think was the full moon day, or the day before, the day on which the Buddha became enlightened. So we had a celebration here. You didn't come. You didn't know, perhaps.
I did. I had.
Okay, you couldn't come.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
We didn't see most of you in that celebration yesterday. So, but you know what? That is the day of the Buddha. Was born, became enlightened, and passed away. So we are having a single excellent night with that in our mind. So let's go into the discussion. Try to see, I will read from this book, but see if your, translation is very different. Thus have I heard, on one occasion the Blessed One was living at Rajagaha in the park of the hot springs. This is called Tapodharama. A temple there, a temple was built there for the Buddha in hot springs. Like here you find blue springs, so this is also a hot springs place. Then when it was near dawn, early hours of the day, the Venerable Samidhi went to the hot springs to bathe his limbs. After bathing, he came up out of the water and stood dressed in one robe, drying his limbs, drying his body. Then, when the night was well advanced, a certain deity of beautiful appearance, who illuminated the whole of the hot springs, approached the Venerable Samidhi. Standing at one side, the deity said to him, so this is, have you had this experience in your life? I have not. You will be sort of amazed to see some deva appear in front of you, and the place is well lit because of the light of the divine being. But Samidhi had that experience. So the deva, the deity, asked, Bhikkhu, do you remember the summary and exposition of one who has had a single excellent night? Friend, I do not remember the summary and exposition of one who has had a single excellent night. But friend, do you remember the summary and exposition? So the deity says, Bhikkhu, I too do not remember the summary and exposition of one who has had a single excellent night. So again he asks the same question, do you remember? And the monk says, I do not remember. And so having said that, but Bhikkhu, towards the very end, learn the summary and exposition of one who has had a single excellent night. Bhikkhu, master the summary and exposition of one who has had a single excellent night. So this deity sort of like guides the monk. So someone nowadays may think that this is a voice in his head, but again, you see this explanation here that this deity, when he appeared there, he or she, when that divine being appeared there, there was light. It illuminated the hot springs. So he's giving advice like, master the summary and exposition of one who has had a single excellent night, and remember it. So having said that, he said, it's beneficial, it belongs to the fundamentals of the holy life. It belongs to so holy life is basically the life of a person who has committed to attaining the final goal of eliminating, ending all suffering. So that has a holy purpose, a purpose of becoming or reaching the state of becoming holy. The Pali term for that is brahmacharya life, conduct of a brahma. So holy life is a brahmacharya life. So you reach to a brahma-like state, pure state, when you practice this path. Your mind is pure, and that is the goal. So this deity says it is beneficial, it belongs to the fundamentals of the holy life. That is what was said by the deity, who thereupon vanished at once. So this deity's nature is to appear there and vanish after giving the message. So these accounts are there in many sutras, where monks experience deities, they give a message and the deity disappears. Even in the discourse about 38 auspicious things, Mangala Sutta, different Mangala things, different excellent things, auspicious things, there also you find a deity asking a question and the Buddha responding. These encounters are recorded in the Buddhist canon. Then, when the night was over, the Venerable Samiddhi went to the Blessed One, so went to the Buddha. After paying homage to him, he sat down at one side, told the Buddha all that had occurred, and said, "It would be good, Venerable Sir, if you would teach me the summary and exposition of one who has had a single excellent night." Then monk, then bhikkhu, listen and attend closely to what I shall say. So, yes, Venerable Sir, Samiddhi replied. The Buddha said, this is why I picked this sutra today. These verses that you find next. Shall we read it together? Let not a person revive the past, or on the future build his hopes, for the past has been left behind, and the future has not been reached. Instead, with insight, let him see each presently arisen state. Let him know that and be sure of it, invincibly, unshakably. Today the effort must be made. Tomorrow death may come, who knows? No bargain with mortality can keep him and his hordes away. But one who dwells thus ardently, relentlessly, by day, by night, it is he, the peaceful sage, has said, who has had a single excellent night. So, at the end you find, but one who dwells thus ardently, relentlessly, by day, by night. And that is the person who has had a single excellent night. So to have a single excellent night, this kind of conduct has to be there. So I'll pull the Pali of the verses to see how the rhetorics go. Let not a person revive the past. Atitam nan vagameya. So I get the meaning here as that you do not bring the past. You can easily bring the past, but there is a meaning to it. You find it later when Kaccāna gives his explanation. But I'm going to the lucid meaning here. Nappati kanke anagatam. So you do not have expectations about anagata. So this word anagata is very special. Anagata can be broken into two pieces. Na agata, what is yet to come, what has not yet come. So agata means arrived, na agata means not arrived. So the future is about something that is yet to come. Whether this building collapses in the next second or that's a bad thing to say. But such things are about, some things yet to come. I heard a tree collapsing in the other land today when it was raining. So things like that, I didn't expect that to happen. So, nappati kanke, anagata. Then, yada tetam pahinanta. Whatever is in the past, it has been gone already. Past has been left behind. I usually say that the past cannot be edited. Your past is gone. You cannot go to that event and change the order of events and make it happen the way you want. People always wish to go in a timeline, like time machine, and change some things that happened 10 years ago. But it's already gone. People already know, people know this. Appattancha anagatam. The future is yet to come. Future has not been reached. Appattam, you haven't reached there yet. Pachupannancha yo dhamma. Whatever the dhamma, whatever, let's take dhamma here as what is arisen mentally in the pachupan time, in the present time. So what is arisen now in your mind? Many questions about, perhaps. And you can also say, like, sloth and torpor has arisen in your mind. Lust has arisen in your mind. Many things arise and pass away in our minds. So, pachupannancha yo dhamma. So you focus on that. Tatta tatta vipassati. There and there, here and there, as they arise, vipassati. So passati means you just see. Vipassati means you see specially. You give special attention to it. Each presently arising state, let him know that and be sure of it. So vipassati, the translator uses, instead of saying vipassana, famous term for meditation, he says, be sure of it. What this means is that, what can you do? Say, a thought has arisen and there is an impulse for you to act upon it. And if you do not act upon it, but you still analyze that experience, how would you analyze it? According to the Buddhist teachings. This is called vipassati, but how would you do that?
Just by trusting you mean by trusting the Buddhist teachings and then just...
You can, of course, that's very basic, that's where you begin.
Okay.
But now you go into analytical mind.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, you have this mind, and then you have an external stimuli, the thought, and then you become conscious on the experience. So now you see three things there, and the three things come together. There is contact arising, and that thought immediately tells whether it's a lustful thought, a thought with hatred, or a neutral thought. So like pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. I think that those internal and external experiences not experiences. You have internally you have the 6 sense doors with every experience you have. Externally you have the things that become subjected to the internal sense doors, like to your eyes, you have forms outside. But if you don't have consciousness, the two will never meet. Now you see 3 things clearly. And depending on these 3, contact arises. Right?
Mm-hmm.
This is how you analyze. This is called vipassana. This is called special seeing. Right? We can discuss many sutras, but if you do not see these things practically, I think they're just, never going to see it. So let's take another example, another set, like your ears. and external. So this ear is the internal sense door, and what is external? The sounds. And there is consciousness. So meeting of the three is contact. There is a contact. And take nose, for example. You have the internal sense door, the nose, and externally you have fragrances, smells, odors. And you become conscious on it. And there arises contact. So this is called vipassati, seeing in vipassana. That's called vipassana meditation. There is nothing else you can do. I mean, when you have seen this in many ways, you know that no matter how many times you see it, it's the same way, and there's no difference. And when you have built that confidence, you are really seeing the teachings. That is called seeing the Buddha. When you see the teachings, you see the Buddha. The Buddha said, Yo dhammam passati, so mam passati. When you see Dhamma, that person sees me. So this kind of seeing is like seeing how the Buddha saw things, how he analyzed things. You see it?
Yeah.
So that's what, paccuppanna. So we'll go back to English. See, insight, the word insight is there. Instead with insight, so vipassana is translated as insight meditation. Instead with insight, let him see each presently arising state. So presently arising state. You can analyze any state that has arisen now. Whatever is your focus now, if you take the 6 internal sense doors and external stuff, and you put consciousness as the mediator, and you are starting to see that. But when you do that, you are not in the past, you are not in the future. Right? So that is what you really do. We are still learning the brief exposition, but we will go into details later. But what I explain to you has to be in your mind when we go to that place. Let him know that and be sure of it, invincibly. So, invincible means too powerful to be defeated. And with that goes unshakable. So you cannot be shaken. So this is a state that you reach to an unshakable, to an invincible place. The single word for that is anabhibhavaniya. You cannot defeat that space. This is a higher state you reach upon investigating your experience this way and being non-attached and also having deep meditative experiences. Today the effort must be made. Ajjeva kicca mātappam. It's very famous Pali Gatha. Tomorrow death may come. Ko janya maranang suve. Who knows? Ko janya, who knows? Maranang suve. Suve means tomorrow. Marana, you may die tomorrow. Ko janya, who knows? No bargain with mortality. Nahi no sangarang tena. Mahasenena machuna. And his hordes away. Like the Mara and his hordes. Mara and Mara. The evil one has its retinue. So the evil one. So it's like the death comes with its retinue. Death comes in many ways. Death comes as defilements. Death comes as death. Death comes in different forms, and you will get caught. So No bargain with mortality can keep him and his hordes away. If you bargain with mortality, if you bargain with the death, it won't keep him and his hordes away. So him, the pronoun him is used here to address mortality, death. Although people want to find ways to be immortal, they fail. Relentlessly, by day, by night. If you stay atapi, by day and night, it is he, the peaceful sage, has said, who has had a single excellent night. Kaccāna-Bhaddekaratta-Sutta, Santo Achikkate Muni. The Muni here means the Buddha has said, who has had a single excellent night. It is he, the peaceful sage. So Muni can also mean a monk who has reached to this state, not just the Buddha. Muni is a term also used for silent sage, so someone who practices the vow of silence because they have committed to it and they see benefits of it, that when they speak, if they speak, their silence will be broken in their minds. Therefore, they don't speak. So that is what the Blessed One said. Having said this, he rose from his seat and went into his dwelling. Then, soon after the Buddha went, monks considered, now how do we know? So the Buddha went giving a summary in brief without expounding the detailed meaning. Who will expound this in detail? I think we learned this guy. So, the Venerable Kaccāna is praised by the teacher. Suppose we went to him and asked him the meaning of this. Then monks went to Kaccāna, exchanged greetings. When this courteous and amiable talk was finished, then sat down to one side. They told him what had taken place, adding, "Please explain this to us." Friends, then he blamed, he says to these monks, it's just like you are looking for hardwood and seeking hardwood, wandering in search of hardwood. You thought that hardwood should be sought for among the branches and leaves of a great tree standing possessed of a hardwood. It's like you didn't ask that from the Buddha and you came to me. That's what he means. It's like hardwood is the hardwood of a tree, but someone is looking for hardwood in branches, not in the trunk of the tree. So he's telling these monks, like, why didn't you ask that from the Buddha and you came to me? So that you think that I should be asked about the meaning of this after you passed the Blessed One by when you were face to face with the teacher? For knowing the Blessed One knows, you know that he knows, you see that he sees, his vision, his knowledge, his the Dhamma. These are like stock phrases you find in the canon, in places like this. He is the Holy One, he is the Sayer, the Proclaimer, the Elucidator of meaning, the Giver of the Deathless, the Lord of the Dhamma, the Tathagata. That's born one. That was the time when you should have asked the Blessed One the meaning. As he told you, so you should have remembered. So then monk says, surely, friend Kaccāna, we know all that. But please explain the meaning of this. Then listen, friends, and attend closely to what I shall say. Yes, friend, monks replied. I'm skipping some lines because we don't have to repeat those parts. Friends, when the Blessed One rose from his seat and went into his dwelling after giving a summary in brief without expounding the detailed meaning, that is, and then he repeats the verses again, let not a person revile the past who has had a single excellent night. I understand the detailed meaning of it be as follows. How, friends, does one revive the past? So, reviving the past is a thing you found in the beginning. How does one revive the past? Once consciousness becomes bound up with desire and lust, they are thinking, my I was thus in the past and forms were thus. You go to footnote 2020, let me quickly go there, I think you don't have it there in your... Actually, we don't have... 1220, right? Okay. So, the footnote is from the commentary. In the two previous suttas and in the one to follow, the Buddha set up the outline and analysis by way of the 5 aggregates. But here he set it up so that it could be analyzed by way of the 12 sense bases. So, internal and external sense bases. Understanding the Buddha's intention, Venerable Kaccāna spoke as he did, and because of his skill in grasping the method, even when it was not explicitly shown, the Buddha appointed him the foremost disciple in explaining in detail a teaching stated in brief. Okay? That is the footnote. So, because one's consciousness is bound up with desire and lust, one delights in that. When one delights in that, one revives the past. So delighting about something that happened in the past is how you revive the past. You can go to something that happened 10 years ago and, just like seeing it on a movie screen, you can bring it back. But then you see so Kaccāna says, my I was thus in the past and forms were thus. When someone remembers something from the past, you don't really look at the physical eye. You don't care, right? But you can remember a dance someone performed somewhere, and you had to use your eyes to see that, right? A dance, I remember when I was in, where was that? In Rome, I think. I was with my teacher visiting me in Italy, and this group performed a dance, very aggressive dance. We happened to pass by and we happened to see that. We didn't stop there. Monks are not supposed to entertain in those, so we had to go. But this image still, comes to my mind, what I saw. And those days, I don't, when I remember that, I don't look at my eye, but I remember seeing that from my eyes. My eyes helped me to see that, and my mind recorded the incident. So it's just what he says, like, because one's consciousness is bound up with desire and lust, in that case, it's not about desire and lust. In my experience, it's about this bunch of young fellows performing a difficult dance, spreading their legs and almost hitting the ground, that kind of dance. It's very difficult to perform. But even with desire and lust, one can enjoy those dances. People always go to these places, right? One delights in that. When one delights in that, one revives the past. So that says, if you do not take delight in that, you do not revive the past. You do not bring the past back to the present. So, one's consciousness becomes bound up with desire and lust. They are thinking, my ear was thus in the past, and sounds were thus, my nose and odors, my tongue and flavors, my body and tangibles, my mind was thus in the past, and mine objects were thus. Because one's consciousness is bound up with desire and lust, one delights in that. When one delights in that, one revives the past. That is how one revives the past. And the question comes, how does one not revive the past? So take one for example. One's consciousness does not become bound up with desire and lust. They are thinking, my I was thus in the past and forms were thus, Because one's consciousness is not bound up with desire and lust, one does not delight in that. When one does not delight in that, one does not revive the past. So with all the sense doors and external stimuli, the discussion goes like, you do not bring those back to the present with lust and desire. Very difficult task. Usually lust, when mind is not trained, lust arises immediately when some, beautiful sounds, beautiful images you saw, beautiful people you saw, when they come to your mind. So this is, telling these monks, like if you do not have, if you have done some meditation and sort of suppressed the tendencies of lust and desire, this is possible. When you do some meditation for some time, you do not experience lust and hatred and lust and desire for that period of time. And its effects, benefits last for some time even after when you stop meditation. You have that experience, right? And then when you start to take delight in such forms, such sounds and all that, and then they start to be the central focus in your mind. So this is again a mind game. Okay? Anything difficult in there that you don't understand? And this is simple, right? So this is about the past. And if you go to number 15, how, friends, does one build up hope upon the future? So he says, one sets one's heart on obtaining what has not yet been obtained, thinking, may my I be thus in the future and forms be thus, because you want your body to have, that's why you go to the gym, to look better, to look, and so you can have a healthy body. But people also, nowadays the body culture has gone wild, that people want to have these shapes and cut off eating because of the body consciousness. May my I be thus in the future and forms be thus, because one sets one's heart thus, one delights in that. When one delights in that, one builds up hope upon the future. One sets one's heart on obtaining what has not yet been obtained, thinking, so may my ear be thus in the future, may my nose and odors, may my tongue and flavors, may my body and tangibles, may my mind be thus in the future, mine objects be thus. Because one sets one's heart thus, you set your mind's focus that way, one delights in that. When you delight in that, you build up hope upon the future. So you have a future. That is how one builds up hope upon the future. So to not do that, you don't take delight in that. When you don't take delight in that, you do not build up hope upon the future. So that way you can skip number 16. So number 17 is important. How is one vanquished in regard to presently arisen states? In regard to the I and forms that are presently arisen, one's consciousness is bound up with desire and lust for that which is presently arisen. Because one's consciousness is bound up with desire and lust, one delights in that. When one delights in that, one is vanquished in regard to presently arisen states. So not doing that, not taking delight in that, when one delights. So number 18 is, how is one invincible in regard to presently arisen states? How can you stay over the top of it, like you don't experience these with lust and desire? In regard to the I and forms that are presently arisen, one's consciousness is not bound up with desire and lust for that which is presently arisen. Because one's consciousness is not bound up with desire and lust, one does not delight in that. When one does not delight in that, one is invincible in regard to presently arising states. So, very simple, right? But difficult to do. So the same thing goes with ear, sounds, tongue and flavors, body and tangibles, the mind and mind objects that are presently arising. So that is how one is invincible in regard to presently arising states. Friends, when the Blessed One rose from his seat and went into his dwelling after giving a summary in brief without expounding the detailed meaning of these gathas, these verses, I understand the detailed meaning of this summary to be this way. Now friends, if you wish, go to Buddha and ask him about the meaning of this. As he explains this to you, you should remember accordingly. And then they went, they reported everything, and now in number 21, just before that, Venerable Kaccāna expounded the meaning to us with these terms, statements and phrases. And at 21, Kaccāna is wise. This is the Buddha saying. Kaccāna is wise because Kaccāna has great wisdom. If you had asked me the meaning of this, I would have explained it to you in the same way that Kaccāna has explained it. Such is its meaning, and you should remember it. So that's the end, and monks were happy. Okay? So, say the goal is becoming invincible, becoming unshakable. So when I was in Winnipeg recently, I know this person who regards himself as a bodhisattva, someone who is aspiring to become a Buddha. He's a dentist, Sri Lankan dentist, and has 2 children. And he doesn't mind me telling this. In his present life, he's practicing 10 precepts, although he lives in the same house where his wife also lives, but his wife is now like an attendant to him. And his goals and lifestyle, and he also gives Dhamma talks like a monk when he has free time. And he has a lot of, he remembers a lot of sutras and Jataka stories, and he can explain things in detail. So he recently told me that he has not entertained in any lustful thought for more than a decade, something like that. So, and he said how he does that is by remembering the order of the objects that he get attracted to, remembering somehow seeing the repulsiveness of the things that he get attracted to. And that has helped him, and his knowledge in sutras has helped him to sustain this awareness and mindfulness. And he says because of that he is now able to stay in meditation unshaken, not having a problem. And he goes to deep samadhis, deep meditations. So his children and his wife are, there, but he doesn't associate them. He does know them, and he does the duties as a father, but does not bother about them. They have their jobs, and his duty as a father is done, he says, and now his total focus is his goal of becoming enlightened, becoming a Buddha in the future, but fulfilling paramis, perfections for this life. So I brought that up because it's impossible to think about people who are not who are not living in the present life, not indulging in things that they experience, right? there's many people indulge and go after them. And when you have this understanding from this sutra, for example, you have past experiences and future experiences and the present experiences. With all these three times, the past, the future and the present, you do not experience these with lust and desire. When you do not experience these with lust and desire, you are able to cut off the habits of experiencing things with lust and desire. Do you think this is impossible? No, this is possible. So this is something any human can do, but you need to have a strong determination. But most people, majority, get caught up in lustful thinking and desireful thinking. But it's such a freedom, according to some sutras, to be free from these habits. To not, so you have lifted the weight from your mind. So, any questions? I gave that example earlier about when you experience a thought, you can analyze that, but take a taste, something that you taste, something like chocolate. So you have the tongue, and externally you have the flavor, and you become conscious of it, and as soon as you take the chocolate into your experience, the sweet, delicate taste, kind of overtakes your body, and you want more bite of it. You eat more, and then you forget the inside, the experience, but you go after the thoughts of having more, and you are caught up in that stream of it. But the Buddha's teachings are very simple if you just analyze the experience there and stop there to see, this is what is happening to me now. Let me enjoy this, but not have any future desire about this. So you are cutting off any future hopes about it. There itself, you are experiencing the world slightly differently from an ordinary person, and you are able to cut off a whole lot of thoughts based on that. No magic here, but your own ordinary human experience is helping you to understand that. So, when you go home tonight, if you want to have an excellent night, what's the word there? One single excellent night. Analyze the six sense doors and external stimuli, and also how consciousness lands with all these. So you have 18 into it. What 18? Internal sense doors and external stimulus, and 6 consciousness experiences. Eye consciousness, ear consciousness, because the duty of eye cannot be done by the ear. Ear has to be a different experience, and the nose experiences. So you start analyzing these, and then you build confidence in the teachings here, that any person experiences these things the same way. But then you go into deeper meditative experiences with breathing meditation, and still there are your insight knowledge. The knowledge of these 18 help you to analyze and to dissolve the sense of identity, the view of identity. Views are to be abandoned. Views are called dittis, drustis, they are to be abandoned. And when you abandon the self-view, you are seeing these as 18 things. You don't see a person in those experiences, and then they dissolve. Anyway, I'm going into analytical mind here, so we don't need to really go in there. But I don't also see you as beginners anymore, because you have been coming to these discussions more than few times. So now we should not be afraid of going into details and seeing these things. And next week, or the next week when we discuss, we can use some similes, like how we look at the form and how we look at feelings, like 5 aggregates, and then the similes bound with this. There's a sutra teaching about that, and popular gathas, Pena Pindupamang Rupam. This form is like a bubble, and Buddha looks at some bubbles arising in a river and says, monks, this form, physical form,